Welcome to Capital Link's Trending News podcast series. In this podcast series, we have the opportunity to discuss with company management on recent news and announcements that they have made. I am Nicolas, Bornozis, President of Capital Link, and we have with us today the Chairman and CEO of EUROSEAS Limited, Mr. Aristides Pittas. Today, our discussion will center on EUROSEAS' recent environmental initiatives towards sustainability and decarbonization. Now, a very quick reminder of our disclaimer that our podcasts are provided purely for informational and educational purposes. They do not constitute investment advice or advice of any kind, and of course, Capital Link bears no responsibility for them. And as an additional disclosure, we have the privilege to work with EUROSEAS on investor relations. Now, before we start the discussion, let me provide a brief description of the company. EUROSEAS trades on NASDAQ under the ticker symbol ESEA and operates in the container shipping market. Its fleet consists right now of 20 vessels, including 13 feeder container ships and 7 intermediate container ships. These vessels are employed on spot and period charters and through pool arrangements. Currently, the fleet's cargo capacity is approximately 61,000 TEU, and after the delivery of the 6 new feeder container ships in 2024, the total fleet capacity will be approximately 75,000 TEU. And with that, let's start our discussion. Aristides, welcome. Thank you for being with us today. The first question I wanted to ask you is, we noticed that in your recent announcements, you place significant emphasis on various environmental initiatives that EUROSEAS has been undertaking. So tell us about your thinking and the overall strategy in this area.
Thank you, Nico, first of all, for having me here today. And I'm really happy that we have an opportunity to talk a little bit about the environment together, because it is a major concern of ours, not as a company only, but as global citizens. We notice the changes over the last few years. I think everybody should appreciate what a serious risk is posed by climate change. And all the disasters that we see, the wildfires, the tsunamis, everything, the pollution, it is amazing. So we have to do something about all that. And the biggest, the most important thing to do on this issue is to create global awareness, which is something that is happening, because global awareness results in politicians picking it up and results in regulation evolving that will help us tackle the problem. And there have been significant strides on this area, which we welcome, we support, and we want to also be vocal and help get the message through that we have to do something on the environment. And indeed, I think that the IMO is doing a very good job in trying to enforce environmental measures that are realistic, because one danger is that we are not realistic and we suggest solutions that cannot happen. The IMO is looking at it from all angles and taking the correct measures. Even some regional measures that are taken, again, I support them, provided that they don't change the level playing field that we have in shipping, because shipping is a global business. It has to remain global. And therefore, it should give equal opportunities to companies from all over the world. And, even the EU ETS, we are very much supportive of it, because indeed, Europe has to lead through example. But the way that this is structured, it is equal for companies from all over the world, because every ship that comes to Europe has to pay something towards this fund. If it's a Greek company, if it's an American company or a Chinese company, they still have to pay. So the level playing field, theoretically at least, does not change. So anyway, being so cognitive about what we need to do with the environment, we are focusing all our investments and our approach towards the outside world in trying to undertake such measures. Such measures are driven by regulation. Regulation results in laws that we have to follow, we all have to follow, and hopefully this regulation will continue to be such so that it is to the best interest of all private companies to follow and to act accordingly. And at this point, what I have to say is really that we see the regulations that have come, we see the regulations that will come, and we are adjusting to those. And because our fiduciary duty is, of course, to protect our shareholders and to increase the share price, to make profits for the shareholder. And I feel very happy because at this stage, by doing that, I'm also helping the environment. So it is the right thing to do, both economically for the shareholder, but also for the world as a whole. So it gives me double pleasure to be doing that.
Aristides, well said. I think, asking you the next question, what your company is doing, and I think overall in the industry, we talk about decarbonization, green shipping, and of course, part of it is the investment decisions into fleet renewal with new vessels. But let's not forget that the bulk of the fleet in the water today needs to be upgraded, maintained properly. So in that respect, the initiatives that you take also when it comes to retrofits are particularly important because they deal with the ships in the water today. So you have recently announced retrofits on 3 vessels in your fleet. What types of retrofits were made and what have been the intended benefits, technically speaking? And by the way, have these benefits been observed after the retrofits were performed? Are you satisfied with them?
Sure. Yes, Nicolas, you are right. One thing is to build new economic vessels, and that we are achieving through our new building program of 9 ships. 3 have already been delivered, 6 will be delivered as you said. They are all running on existing fuel, but have the capacity to be upgraded to LNG if at some point this becomes a better solution. But they are very economic vessels. They consume 40% less than the previous generation of similar sized vessels. And this is a huge benefit to the environment. But on the existing fleet, we can also take measures that will improve the fuel consumption of the ships. And indeed, we have already done that on 3 of our vessels. I have to say that we worked very closely with one of our charterers, Maersk, in trying to find out what we have to do to improve the fuel consumption of our ships. And there was a study performed which indicated that if we did various measures, which I will go over very, very quickly for the benefit of the people that are listening in, we put a new bulbous bow on the ships. We put a new and lighter propeller on the ships. These 2 are the bigger measures that we undertook. They improved the consumption significantly. The third measure, which is we painted the vessel's hulls with silicone paints, that is also really helping by about 4% improvement. It's a paint that costs double a normal paint, but you get the reward back very soon. We also put pre-shrouded vanes at the aft of the propeller and the hub vortex absorbing fins, again back at the tail system of the propeller, which streamlined the flow of the water around the propeller and thus also helped. We applied LED lightings on the ships. We put an ecological advanced control autopilot system in. We put a jacket preheater, auto control on. All these measures together, they add to an improvement. So our study indicated that we would have a 20% improvement in the consumption of the vessel. What actually happened on this first ship that we did that is we have a 25% improvement in our fuel consumption. This vessel was consuming 63 tons of fuel running at 17 knots, and it is now consuming 46 tons of fuel. It is saving 17 tons per day on fuel. 17 tons per day translates to about 3,500 tons over a year, taking into account the port stays and all that stuff. 3,500 tons of fuel a year corresponds to more than 10,000 tons of CO2 emissions that are saved. So there is a very significant saving here. It has been proved by the first ship on the series that we effected these repairs and the retrofits. We have since done a second one, which is just came out of water last week. And we've also retrofitted our largest vessel, the 6,000 TEU Marcos, which again is, we are waiting to see the results, but we are confident based on the studies and the results that we've seen up to now, that we will have very significant savings.
Aristides, thank you very much for this detailed reply. And it's particularly interesting and important because this is a public podcast addressing a broader audience. And most people think that the only way to achieve decarbonization is through the choice of fuel. But now you went through a list of initiatives that you can take, which add, of course, to fuel savings. So it shows exactly how many more things can be done in addition to the ultimate choice of the fuel. So thank you for taking us through this analysis. Now, all these retrofits, obviously, they're a significant investment. How were they financed? Did you do it alone as EUROSEAS? Did the charter participate in financing?
Sure. The first vessel and the second vessel, we had charterers Maersk participating in the cost. Depending on how long the charter had still to run, we agreed the exact formula of participation. And this has been very helpful. The third vessel, which is a vessel whose charter expired, we paid for the whole investment. The whole investment is of the order of magnitude of $1.5 to $2 million. So on the third vessel, we decided to pay for that ourselves. We subsequently fixed the vessel to a charter at a rate that we feel is about $2,500 more than what we would have been able to get if we did that, if we hadn't retrofitted the vessel. So we think that we are making maybe about $500,000 every year, if that is the case going forward as well, which means that we will have a recovery of our whole investment within 3 to 4 years. That is half of the answer, though, because since the retrofits were new, the charterer is not sure that we will perform so much better. So I don't think they are paying us the full amount of savings that we're doing. The full amount of savings that we're doing within a year in fuel, based on the calculation I gave you before, is about $2 million. So the charterer is saving money by getting our ship, paying us only $500,000 more, but really saving close to $2 million. At some point, we will be getting more of the upside of the retrofits that we are doing. So it is a good investment on its own. Not only it improves and it helps the environment, but it's really a good investment.
Aristides, you made a very interesting point. Here we have the charter, who is actually benefiting from the cost savings because the charter pays for the fuel, so less fuel, obviously the charter will have less cost. And that allows you to share into the cost savings by having a better freight rate. So with this, let's say, cooperative approach between the charter and the ship owner, sharing the investment for a retrofit, is that something that can be applied to more ships in the fleet? And is that hopefully setting a new trend of cooperation between all the stakeholders here?
Yes, I think we have to. I mean, it makes sense to see more of this cooperation going forward. I have to say, though, that another 2 ships that had long charters still to run, the charterers were not willing to participate in any cost saving when we did the dry dock. So we didn't do the retrofits on those 2 ships. At some point, the charters will end, the vessels will come back to us. Probably we will be doing it on our own because it makes economic sense and because it's the right thing to do for the environment and everything. So yes, I'm pretty confident that we will see more retrofits happening to at least the larger container ships. I'm not sure that the benefit for smaller, older vessels can be that significant. One has to run the analysis and do the study. But for sure, measures that people can undertake to reduce the consumption are very helpful, both financially but environmentally.
Thank you. So these retrofits clearly require investment of funds that are taken away from other investment opportunities that you're encountering. So how does this capital allocation work for EUROSEAS? Are you looking to invest in more new buildings? Are you looking at younger ships only, or would you also consider in older ships if such opportunities come up?
Sure. Firstly, Nicolas, as you know, we have still long enough charters running at very profitable rates, so we are making significant profits over the last 2 years, and this will continue up till the end of next year as well, based on the current charters that we have. This has been helping us to build up equity. We currently have about $65 million sitting in the bank waiting to be invested. To invest $2 million here or there to upgrade ships is that you will recover the investment in 2, 3, 4 years' time. Definitely makes sense, whilst waiting to find other opportunities to invest. I think at least for this year, I don't see us making any additional new buildings. We will take delivery up till the end of the year of the 6 remaining ships that we have on order. Prices of container ships are quite high at this moment, so we don't see really any good opportunity to buy something more. We might buy an elder ship that we can consider retrofitting and improving if the value is right and we can agree something with the charter that makes sense. But we will continue our strategy as it has always been, looking at each investment on its own, trying to see what's in the market and how that can benefit our shareholders.
Thank you.
But there is nothing currently on the pipeline that you can expect within the next month.
So Aristides, coming now to the closing of our podcast, of our discussion, and talking more broadly on the decarbonization topic. What would you say will facilitate and ensure that shipping as an industry is going to meet the decarbonization targets that have been set?
Yes, I touched upon it at the beginning. Really, it's I believe that we will meet the IMO targets eventually. We have to be careful not to sometimes be over ambitious or greenwashing or suggesting things that really can't work. We have to be realistic, and the IMO is realistic. And I think that these are targets that will be met because the world has understood the problem. regulation is evolving as it should evolve, and compliance with regulation will assure that we achieve those targets. I'm confident that we will do it.
Aristides, thank you very much. Would you, as we close, do you want to add something on the sector?
Not really at this stage. I think the sector has been through a few very profitable years. Most companies, both liner companies, but owners like us, are sitting in a very strong cash flow position and very strong balance sheets. And we look forward to when the next opportunity is there to grow further.
That's a very nice way to finish our discussion on a very positive note, both for the industry and for the sector, given the current position that you're all in. So I'd like to thank you for this discussion. I'd like to remind our audience that I'm Nicolas Bornozis of Capitaling, and I had the great privilege to discuss with the Chairman and CEO of EUROSEAS, Mr. Pittas, Aristides Pittas, and our discussion centered on the environmental initiatives towards sustainability and decarbonization that EUROSEAS have been undertaking. So Aristides, thank you for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicolas, very much for this discussion, and I'll see you soon.
Absolutely.
Bye.